And that will be the end of me for this module until we've got expert tomorrow, but I'm not doing that except to kind of float around. So this is the last one, body dysmorphic disorder. You ever heard that before? Okay. It's probably getting more airtime these days because I think there's a lot more focus. I think as the world got more focused on what is quote-unquote the ideal look, which is actually so not ideal for most people, that there's been a lot of distance between the way we really are versus what we think we should be based on all the pictures. And you know, most of you know, in almost any of the fashion and beauty magazines, everybody's photoshopped. It's really not even, it's almost just like made up pictures of stuff that we kind of look at and go, oh, wow, I could do like that. So this is a DSM-5 diagnostic criteria for this disorder. It's really an obsessive compulsive disorder, but it kind of fits in this flow. And I think you can see how it actually does have an obsessive compulsive quality to it. It is preoccupation with one or more perceived deficits or flaws in physical appearance. Okay, everybody looks at themselves. It's not, I mean, that's not abnormal in and of itself, but when it becomes a preoccupation, that's when you begin to move towards diagnosis. At some point when people have this diagnosis, they have performed repetitive behaviors or certain mental acts, certain repetitive behaviors or acts. The repetitive behaviors can be mirror checking, and this is beyond narcissism, you know, excessive grooming, skin picking, reassurance seeking. Go look okay, go look okay, you know, it's those kind of folks. Mental acts, comparing his or her appearance with that of others. Now you can't know that on the outside looking in, but when you talk to people, do you tend to look at yourself and compare yourself to other people? Or they might say things like, everybody else is like this and not except me. So there's that comparison quality that's going on all the time. Of course, to make it a mental diagnosis, it causes significant distress or impairment in the spheres of functioning. And it's not explained by some other disorder that's concerned with weight, you know, body fat or weight, like you see with the eating disorders. So it's not that. But it is preoccupation with what is perceived to be a defect or flaw. Kind of go back to the first one. You see what she sees and you see what she is. So what they see, what they think they're seeing is that. And that's really not what it is. They just overinterpret. Okay. You also, if you have body dysmorphic disorder, there are some specifications. And we look at muscle dysmorphia. That's where people think the defect is in the musculature. I'm not muscle bound enough. That's more male oriented. But you would say body morphic. You would say body dysmorphic disorder with muscle dysmorphia. That would be the diagnosis. You also have to specify how much insight somebody has. Some people actually know that they're not really that messed up, but they can't help but focus on it. You know, my thighs are big. My thighs are big. I know they're not that big and I'll measure them, but I just think I'm big. Yeah, and they stick with that. So they actually have an insight. So you would put with good or fair insight, with poor insight, or with absent insight or delusional beliefs. So your diagnosis could be body dysmorphic disorder with muscle dysmorphia with good or fair insight. And that would kind of be a description of what's going on. So let's see a couple of these clips about what people are saying about themselves.
I'm 19 years old, and my body dysmorphia is so bad that I've already spent over $20,000 on plastic surgery.
Although I'm a healthy weight and I work out like crazy, my body dysmorphia has only gotten worse. I truly hate my body.
When I say I'm not pretty, it isn't for attention. I have body dysmorphic disorder, so I literally don't see what everyone else sees.
I have body dysmorphia, and no one understands my need to go to the gym just to feel okay today.
I'm a model, but I have body dysmorphic disorder. Sometimes I see photos of myself and cry for hours.
I avoid mirrors except when I put makeup on because of my body dysmorphic disorder.
I have body dysmorphic disorder, and I'm constantly told that my down talk on myself is fishing for compliments.
Having body dysmorphia is hard. For once, I just want to see myself as beautiful.
Because of my body dysmorphic disorder, sometimes I honestly feel like I don't know what I look like, even when I look in the mirror or look at pictures of myself.
I have body dysmorphia. I am not looking for attention when I say I'm fat. I'm just telling you what I feel.
I have body dysmorphic disorder, and there's nothing more painful than not being able to see what you truly look like when facing a mirror.
I have body dysmorphia and I just bought a bikini. I plan to wear it out on the beach this weekend. Hashtag steps forward.
My name is Tom. I'm 21 years old and I've got body dysmorphic disorder. When I first started getting to the gym, it was a hobby, but now it's more of a chore, like completely obsessed. Every day I just feel like I have to go.
My name's Dan, I'm 21 and I'm from body dysmorphic disorder. Before I started going, I wasn't really bothered about how I looked, or I was quite complacent with it. Only reason I started going was with my friends. It just became sort of a hobby, and then it's just got worse and worse. It's now become a real obsession for me. It's getting harder and harder to reach what I'm looking for.
I go out with my friends and they say to me, you look a lot bigger. You put weight on, but for me, I never see it. It's never there. I look in the mirror and I'm just this same person. It never really sinks in for me.
First started out, I lost a lot of weight, making progress there, but the constant constant looking at yourself and evaluating yourself. And it's getting worse. I feel like bigger than I used to be. The weight is now even more of an issue. I just feel fat actually. It's a real
I don't feel that I'll ever be satisfied with the way that my body looks, but if I keep going and I keep going all the time, there's always that chance that I might actually get there.
When I wake up in the morning, I've just got to deal. I've obviously got to deal with it all day. It's just a bit of a burden. There is a picture in my head of what I actually want to look like, which is becoming more and more difficult to actually reach those goals. And then it's frustrating. I just can't. I don't understand anymore. I just don't get it.
I see myself as stick thin when I look in the mirror. I just compare myself to other people and I just feel insignificant. For me, it's just, it's a daily chore. I started setting myself goals in terms of how I wanted my body to look. And when I didn't reach them, I just got really pissed off.
I can't express how much I hate the gym, to be honest, physical action. But if I could wish for one thing, it would be just never to go again, like never ever again, just because I can't. I've got to keep going. I've got to reach this goal. I've got to try and do something. It's just
So that could be pretty significant. You see what they're saying? I think the thing that struck me the most about that last video clip is how frustrated they were that those were people with insight, but they couldn't escape it. It was still there. And I think so I would give that one. That would be body dysmorphic disorder with muscle dysmorphia with good or fair insight. So what is the etiology? It occurs equally in both genders. Seen more often in the U.S. than in European countries. Isn't that kind of interesting? It may be that America just markets stuff so much better that it may call that tendency out. And Europeans in general tend to be skinnier than we are, as a general statement.
They were not from America.
Yeah, those were both foreign accents, or at least British. Mean onset age 16 to 17 years. 2/3 had the disorder before 18, so this is actually very much an adolescent teenage phenomenon. Associated with high rates of childhood neglect and abuse. So that might have something to do with being unable to ever feel like your body looks good enough to be appreciated by somebody else. And then it's higher prevalence in first-degree relatives of people with OCD. And that tends to make some sense to me. The signs and symptoms, obviously preoccupation with hair or facial features such as shape of nose. You've seen movie stars who've had all kinds of plastic surgery to the place where they've actually messed themselves up. I mean, the classic was Jennifer Grey from Dirty Dancing. You remember her? I mean, you see her all the time in movies, but she doesn't look anything like that anymore because she had nose job after nose job. And what I would tell her is it was your look that way that made you in the movie. And then she has ruined her look. And there are others who've had a lot of surgeries done too. Males are more likely to be preoccupied with genitalia. Females tend to have comorbid eating disorders. So you're always going to be doing differentials with an eating disorder versus body dysmorphia, or maybe both. You know, they both could be present. Many have ideas or delusions of reference. Everything is about me, that self-fixation, and they have high levels of anxiety, social avoidance, depression, neuroticism, and perfectionism. And you see, if you don't think your body's okay, then you don't want to put yourself in public, so you tend to stay away from people. So it's kind of an isolating disorder in a number of ways. Many people have tried cosmetic surgeries to improve what their perceived deficit is. They respond poorly to treatment, and sometimes the disorder is made worse by treatment, prompting an increased number of lawsuits. Like if you go and think your nose is bad, and then they do a surgery on your nose and you think your nose is worse, then you go back and attack them because you were hoping they were going to fix this perceived deficit. In fact, most plastic surgery places should spend quite a bit of time evaluating what are you thinking about yourself, you know, to be sure that they're not dealing with a disorder like that. Have any of y'all worked in a plastic surgery area? It seems like somebody here, maybe in the other class, there should be, I'll say this, there should be quite a bit of attention paid to psychological issues before you actually go into a cosmetic surgery run on people. But there are also a lot of people out there who just like the money of plastic surgery and don't want to spend a lot of time talking you out of things that would cost them money, basically. Fears of humiliation due to the imagined defect may cause patients to be homebound, and they seek medical treatment frequently because they're so unhappy with things. Now, psychotherapy has not been useful in treating the symptoms. There's high rates of more comorbid diseases, depression, anxiety, and OCD. SSRIs are first-line agents for some of the comorbidities that they deal with. Long-term prognosis is unknown. Increased risk of suicide, which you can see. Those folks, those male patients that we're looking at seem very hopeless and frustrated. You can see them committing suicide or making an attempt. Now, this is muscle dysmorphia, which is just the body dysmorphic disorder that's seen more often in males. So you see what he is and what he sees. Such an odd, disorder. They're preoccupied that the body is too small or insufficiently lean or muscular. It's always, I'm not big enough, I'm not muscled up enough. And you saw that one guy that said he couldn't explain to us how awful it was to go to a gym. That to him was like torture, but he had to do it because he had to get to the next level. they actually have normal appearing bodies or are either very muscular. They may be preoccupied with other body areas too, other than muscles, so it might be things like skin or hair. They diet, exercise, lift weights excessively. They sometimes damage themselves, so you might see young people that are fairly bulked up that might have weightlifting, injuries. So that's part of how often you go. You might want to have a little suspicion over on the sideline about why they're doing that. They have high potential to use steroids. What kind of problems can you see with steroids if you abuse steroids? For people in the Oklahoma high school football culture, the Oklahoma college football culture, steroids kind of float around out there. What are some of the things you see? I know y'all hadn't had anything yet where you get into that, but let's just do it while we're there.
Cardiac.
Say that again. Gynecomastia, acne, liver disease. If you use high amounts of steroids, you actually have regression of genitalia, which just the opposite. Now, you might have bigger muscles, but you might have smaller other parts, which may play negative, in their concept. Your differential diagnosis is, first of all, it's just normal appearance. Body dysmorphic versus normal appearance. The defects are clearly noticeable, are not classified as that. Eating disorder, you always got to look at that. Concerns about being fat are considered a symptom of an eating disorder rather than a body dysmorphic disorder. Obsessive compulsive disorder could be what the diagnosis is, or it could be comorbid. Illness, anxiety disorder, hypochondriasis, not related to appearance. Okay, could be anxiety disorder, or it could be a psychosis, in which case you have to move into the schizophrenia or other psychotic type disorders to look at it. Now here's a typical scenario. Sylvia was an attractive college student who complained of her face being asymmetrical. She felt this was always the first thing other people noticed about her, and she felt this even caused her not to get selected for a summer internship. Clinically, it was an almost unappreciable feature. She went to a craniofacial surgeon to try to have it corrected. In the surgeon's opinion, she was not disfigured, so he sent her to a mental health specialist for evaluation. I wonder how that little dialogue went, to get there. This is a very quick little clip, but again, here's a place where they're actually evaluating look versus thoughts about look, and that's how it turned out. So that's it. We've done our somatic things, or body things, complaint things. Any questions about these pieces? No? Okay. Are you ready for the cases? Then we'll get you out of here. It will not be 2 hours.